Good night, good night, good night, people from here and abroad, our
Mhm.
YouTube fan, and also the Saudichress fan. I want to take the time out to say a special good night to all our new um, fans, those who are joining the Saudichress for the very first time. Let me welcome you and with open arms. And also for those persons who are always with us, part of the Saudichress show. But tonight, I must say, apologize for the late start. We said 8 o'clock, but issues beyond our control. But we're here for a lovely start at this time. So, people, let me just say to you, you're welcome. You just type in the chat, participate. You can also call, and the number will come up on screen in a little while. But first of all, let me ask you to help me to welcome our beautiful guest tonight. A very, very strong young lady, very fine, and young, of course. I mean, not going to the age thing, but powerful in the sense that the information that she will bring tonight will open a lot of us, and we'll have a lot of eyebrows being raised. Information that are very, very important. So help me to welcome Miss Saskea McDermott, a very um, busy young lady, and she was out today on a mission. Welcome to you, Miss McDermott. Welcome to the Saudichress show.
Thank you so much for having me tonight.
You are so welcome. Maybe you don't used to this sort of thing, but customary on the Saudichress show, I tend
Mhm.
to allow the guests to introduce themselves because when you have so many accolades behind your name, I don't want to miss any. So just to give us a short profile or a biography of who Miss
Of
McDermott
who I
is.
am. Okay, you know that normally persons don't know what to say about themselves, right? So,
Well, no problem. You
right.
have it.
But I can say that I know for sure that I'm empowering, very energetic, very engaging. I am a social worker working as a guidance counselor. I am a mom of a 2-year old. So please excuse if you hear me in the background. We're the only one home at this time. Um, what else can I say about myself? I am someone who I did an interview the other day and they asked me about if I really want to work within the organization, and I said
Yes.
to them, um, it's not so much about the organization, but my service that I will give to the persons who really needs it. I consider myself to be selfless. Um, I love helping persons. So I will go above and beyond to ensure that at the end of the day, someone is smiling because of the service that I gave to them. Yeah, and that's really me in a
That
nutshell.
that's nice. So people, our topic tonight will be looking on mental health in schools. And we also will top it off, of course, with a little of self-care, which is very, very important.
Very, very important.
So without any delay, let me ask you, mental health in general,
Mhm.
can you define what mental health is?
It is a state of uh, mental well-being that enables people to cope with the stressors or the stresses of life. Um, it It's a component of health and well-being.
Okay.
And so a lot of persons really put mental health on the back burner because we have a stigma attached to mental health to say that if you have a mental illness, you're mad. But what persons don't really realize is that we have a lot of mentally ill persons walking around in clean clothes. I mean, there are a lot of stresses of life that happens on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. And because of these stresses, persons are not able to really vocalize themselves. Some persons are going through a lot and they don't know what exactly is causing them to be stressed. And so if they're not vocal about it, if they don't get the help or the attention that they need, then they're going to act out. And that's what persons would normally say, oh, he mad or oh, she mad. And they put them in a box or they put us in a box because I don't know if somebody has ever looked at me and say, so she mad. But I mean, it is mental health. I always say, or my friend, I have a friend, she's very big on mental health and her mantra is mental health a full business. And looking in, it's really our business because it makes no sense we're here and, as you said, self-care, we're not taking care of ourselves mentally, physically, emotionally, and it all boils down to mental health at the end of the day.
So we can, or put it this way then, can we safely distinguish or differentiate mental health from so-called quote unquote madness?
Yes, in everything, that they have it on a spectrum. So, just as persons living with autism, you'd say that okay, you're on the higher spectrum, and this is something you can, get your medications and you can be okay, you can act normal. Nobody has to know that you're suffering from this until you start acting out, until you stop taking your medications. Mental health, as I said before, it all stems from stressors, right? And so mental health, if something is happening within the home, it is going to spill over into what happens at school because we're talking about mental health in school, right? So I have to tie that in. So if it's a case where it is fixable, it's a easy fix, then or it is something that you get your intervention and you're okay, you're able to live again, then we'd say that that's a mental state. But when it comes on to the quote unquote madness, you will have to be, you have to get your medications. You have to go to the clinic or to the hospital to get your regular checkups. You'll see those persons on the road and you'll say that boy, nobody not even love him, nobody no care about him. I mean, sometimes it's genetic too, and persons have tried and tried and tried to get them help. However, you can't change a light bulb if it doesn't want to change. So you can't tell somebody that, look here, you have a mental issue and mega care go so and so for you get it sorted out. If they don't want, if they haven't seen that they need help, then they're not going to really readily accept that they need help. And so it it goes on and on and on until it is something that is no longer fixable, it's no longer reversible. So that's when we would quote unquote say mad.
Okay. The question that I really want to ask before you mention about those who doesn't want to, get the help, so to speak. What are the symptoms? Are there any symptoms that, you know, we can observe in any individual, that we could at least figure out that there is some mental issue with all these persons? What are the symptoms? Are the signs and symptoms of mental health or issues?
All right, so depression. The person is not their usual self.
Okay.
So I am a bubbly person, and on Fridays or on Saturdays, whichever night, I would normally line with friends. We have a good time. I no longer want to do that. I want to stay in. I don't want to see anyone. I don't want to talk to anyone. Or if I'm a male, I normally, play video games and I talk to my friends through playing games. I no longer want to do that. That is a sign that hey, something is wrong, right? Um, and a lot of times when you ask some persons, what is wrong? I realize that, things are not what they used to be. You're no longer, your jovial self. What's happening? Just like me, as I would say, I'm fine. No, man, me just need a little time and, me come around. Me good, man, me good. But really and truly, sometimes persons just need to get in tune with self. Some persons do a lot of introspection. They just need a little time. But when you're too in tune and you stay in for long and you're not getting the help that you really need, then that
Yeah.
is a call for concern.
Right. Now, in our schools, and let's zoom in now because this is where we want to take the whole mental issue. And people, we need to really talk mental health.
Mm-hmm.
The state of some behavioral patterns among our students in our schools at all levels.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have seen where students at the early childhood, at 4-year-old and 5-year-old, acting very, very strange. Is it that we have mental students with a lot of mental issues in our schools?
No, all right. So I wouldn't say that we have students with a lot of mental issues at school. For us to know if they have a issue, they will have to get an assessment and be diagnosed. So we can just say, okay, this child needs external intervention. So when the guidance counselor, where that's where I would come in. When I would have did my home visits, I would have done my counseling sessions, I would have done behavioral modification if the needs arise. And I realized that okay, this person needs to be referred whether to the child guidance clinic or to the microcare um, center for some form of assessment or therapy. It's that's that's where the guidance counseling unit comes in. No, I wouldn't say we have a lot of children with mental health issues. We have a lot of students that are stressed and they don't know how to vocalize being stressed. I say that because even us sometimes as adults, we are stressed. And the only way we know we're stressed is if our head starts hurting or we realize that, you know, my back is aching or my feet are swelling, or we just realize that we're just not functioning as we used to. We start what would I say, forgetting. We have to, become somebody who we're not. We have to be walking around with a piece of paper, like myself, writing down everything that we're supposed to do, right? We have students who are witnessing abuse at home. So whether father beat the mother or the mother beat the father, they have various family issues.
So some of those family issues that we have seen, isn't those contribute to the behavioral pattern that we have seen in schools? And let me just use one for example.
It does, yes.
A
Mm-hmm.
child would come to school every day, and just another one just passing and hit or brush him or her, and then he decided to fight.
Mm-hmm.
What sort of symptom that would be?
That could just be stemming from, as what I said earlier, that's just the child reliving a moment. So they could be there, you know on their tablets, on their phone, reading, or just being children, playing,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, there's a quarrel, there's a fight within the home. Just a simple brush on the shoulder could trigger and cause the child to reflect and just to remember the trauma that they have gone through at home.
Yes.
So when sometimes when students come to school, when they are at school, school is their safe haven. So when they're at school, it's like they don't want anything to stress them. They don't want anything from home to stem over into school because school is their safe haven. So if something happens and it gives them that remembrance and it causes them to reflect on things that are happening at home, we're going to get those reactions. And sometimes I find that we are not human enough to understand that they too feel, they too are humans. And sometimes when we talk to them and we get that, some sort of attitude,
Mhm.
sometimes we need to stop and we need to look into the situation. Could this child be acting out because something is happening at home? Does this child need love? Is the lack of attention not at home, and so they come to school and they get in trouble every day so that they can get some attention?
They will
Sometimes we
be
need to
attacking.
look into all of those things before we go ahead and accuse them of being disrespectful, outright rude. Because I realize that a lot of teachers does it, and a lot of times they come to the office, Miss, this one very disrespectful and I can't take it no more and blah blah blah. And I'm just listening. And because I wear the hat that I wear, I cannot put myself in the teacher's position. I always look at it. What if it was me? What if I was in the student's position and going through what the student is going through? How would I react? Would I react the same way, or would my actions be different?
Good to know that. What are the things? But let me just take a break. We won't go astray, but we just want to highlight or to acknowledge some of our persons who are live here with us, and they continue. So Chevy and McDermott was the first to be here. I can tell you, would you believe Chevy and actually clocked in from 3:54 p.m. this afternoon? So I
We're gonna
must say
have, we're
that.
gonna have to arrange a prize for Chevian.
Of course, she need to be on the Saudichress show every night so she can get her prize. So
Yes,
she said,
man.
"Yes, cause let's go." You can imagine she was willing and able. Freelance. Thank you very much for joining us. And there you, thank you. She's waving. Tracy Ann Williams, blessed night, everyone. And Keisha Maria Cools. Listen, I'm so sorry. I apologize. I'm not sure of the pronunciation.
Let me pronounce that for you.
Can
It's
you do?
Keisha Maria Kuzlar-Teague.
Lartigue, thank you very much. And she's saying that she's good to be here. Good to have you, Keisha. I hope to see you again. I will not forget this name. And I hope that you continue to join the Saudichress show. Mr. Lee, good night, family. He's always here. He's long standing. Respect, Mr. Lee. Again, and Keisha is also saying, question outside of medicating. And I think right? A student who is simply depressed, what kind of help can the school or government provide? So that's the question from Mrs. Latiga, I guess. So the question is there. Do you want to answer this right away? Thank you very much, people. Let's continue. So yes, miss, outside of the mediating, a
Mhm.
student who is simply depressed, what kind of help can the school or government provide?
All right. So from the guidance department, what we normally do, we offer emotional support.
Yes.
So we go through counseling, we go through rap sessions. If we realize that other students within their classrooms or other students within the school is going through a similar situation, then we pull those students for group counseling. So we normally try to, use everyone to pull on each other's strength.
Okay.
So that is one form of, some ways in which we will help those students. Now, as it relates to how can the government provide, intervention for them, if we realize that the the child or children is depressed to the point where they are engine on, becoming suicidal, or they are suicidal, then it is our duty. I say or because the principal, the guidance counselor, teacher, or vice principal, we have a duty to report. And so whenever we realize that, a child or even adults are on the verge of becoming suicidal or are suicidal, then we make the report. So we make the report to for the children, for to Child Protection and Family Services Agency, and from there they also do their home visits, their they get their intake information, they run their counseling sessions, and they do what they call, I can't remember the name right now, but it's basically a group therapy per se, and the student or child or student will get their individual sessions. So it's basically the same thing as, what we do in the school, but then, the government, they take it up a notch a little bit. There are some
Okay.
issues with the system sometimes, but we will not go into that right now.
We'll leave that for part two.
Part two.
No, you know, it's sort of strange, and sometimes you'll hear different agencies, different people, conducting research to, to get some finding or to even and then make recommendation, especially for students who they believe are suffering from mental issues. And I strongly believe, I may be wrong, and that's why we have you here tonight, Miss McDermott. I strongly believe the way some of our students, and I'm not just talking about students, people. I'm just zooming in the schools because adults also have situations like this. But just to take it, the way these students behave, the way they're performed in schools, in their classes, the way they interact, are can we really use some of these behaviors to identify that some of these students may have, and I'm gonna start using may have mental issues? I can't remember clearly, but I've heard recently that a number of our students are mentally challenged in our schools. How do you respond to that?
um you see, sometimes when I hear of these situations, and it's coming from the head. When I say the head, I'm talking about persons who are just sitting in the office and they're just, sending out a lot of reports, and they are not on the ground, they're not in the
Okay.
field, they're not in the institutions, they don't know what is happening,
So
right?
who conducted those research?
I am not sure, because sometimes the information that they are sending out, it did not come from anyone at the school. So I don't know where they're getting their informations from. But that's for part two. Um, you see, we have to look at mental health and children know from a very, very, very fine or thick magnifying glass. And I say that because when we look at the children pre-COVID and we look at them now,
Mhm.
it's a whole new child. So the child that we had probably in grade 1 and they're back at school now in grade 4. That's not the child we're used to. They went through so much trauma from they have been outside of school up until their return, that they're somebody completely different,
We do
right?
understand.
um we tend not to, I'm doing something, baby.
No problem. You could attend to it. That's a part of it. No problem. He can join the show. So people, that's just a little attention is needed, and it's very important that we give the attention to our kids whenever they seek the attention. That's part of the plan.
Right, exactly. And I was getting to something similar to that, where parents really don't give attention to their children.
Sure.
So I mean, while COVID was on, everybody, almost everyone, they got a gadget for
Mhm.
themselves, right? Whether it was given, from schools, or they send abroad to get something,
Yeah.
and they were locked away behind the screen. So they signed into class, right, sir? They signed into class, and that's it. They're just logged on, nothing else,
Sorry about that.
nothing else, and they were exposed to various forms of violence, sexual contents. Um, I heard that during COVID there was a thing with, I can't remember the name, but I was a social worker for two schools in Saint Anne, and based on what we saw on some of those tablets that we gave to the students, it was nothing good. Nudity, just pure sexual contents, pure
Yes.
violence. And we tend to want to say that they're mentally challenged, or something just wrong with them head and all of that, but then we have to remember that while they were at home, they weren't being fed with contents that were uplifting, that were educating, right? Even though, yes, contents were there for them to go on, or tap
Yeah.
into, but that's not what they wanted.
Because supervision is a very important thing, and I realize that yes, during the COVID period,
Hmm.
a lot of parents themselves were actually displaced, jobs out, they have to go seeking jobs, they don't have the time, have such to, move around with their kids. Some of them has to revisit, some other homes are in another area because they themselves may have been
Hmm.
a victim of the COVID. So yes, we could understand that. We could understand that. But I want to take another question before you go further. And this is
Sure.
coming from Davia Johnson. So, question: does the group therapy or counseling sessions involve the parents?
Absolutely. We have cases where it's a must that the parents have to be a part of it, because a part of the solution and a part of the problem is the parent. And there is no way we can fix the child and
Yes.
send the child back into a broken home. So it is a must that at times parents will be a part of these interventions.
Okay.
And we are not only here for the students, but if parents themselves are having challenges, then we welcome them with open arms, because as a school, we are a family. And we can't just treat one member of the family, we have to treat all of them. So if
Okay.
it's a situation where, boy, it bigger than the guidance counselor, bigger than the principal, then we do our referrals. And that would be us playing our part.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Very good one. Thank you. G Printo. Good night. Great topic. Very important discussion. Valuable professional input from Miss McDermott. All
Thank you
right.
so
Big up
much.
yourself, G Print, to continue. And we continue to ask for your actually assistance in and around. You made promise to us, so that's a part of it. But we'll take that on. All right. So, dear Thompson, good night. Good night with your big eyes, sir. What is a broken? All right. This one coming from no, this one first. There I go. Is this the right one? Broken homes indeed produce broken individuals.
Boy, my people, let me come out strong tonight. I feel important, you know.
Yes, man. The topic is very important too. So
Yeah.
thank you,
And
thank you.
with these broken individuals, we see them every day at school. We see them every day within the classrooms, and you know, I had a student who, when you look at her, you could see everything that is broken.
My God.
And for weeks I had her in my office, and my colleagues would normally say to me that you know, have one pitney again, not two pitney I have now. I took her under my wings, and I tried to do everything humanly possible, the counseling, the referrals, the everything, only to find out that while I was in my office, the parents were, you know, outside ready to give me a beating.
Wow.
Right. And
It
that's where
seems
the
like you were too
broken home.
inquisitive in the family's life.
I was not, you know. I left my nice parish and came to the other parish, and I had work to do. So I was working.
Oh my God.
Right. But I mean, it happens. It happens. And we have, when the homes are broken and there is nothing that anybody can do about it. If persons within the home realize that anyone need help, they
So
can't
Miss,
let anybody else know that they're getting the help.
sorry to break you. Are you saying to us right now
Hmm.
that broken homes can reach a stage where no one can help that situation?
Yes and no. I'm saying yes because if they don't want to change, you know, nobody can change them. And no, in the sense of, if the right persons get them to calm down, get them to talk about it, bring them through therapy and not counseling, give them an eye opener, you know, let them paint the picture of life 3 to 5 or 10 years down the road with whatever is happening within the home. How would they feel about, you know, what is happening, or how would they, sorry, take it, baby. Here, go with it. Yes. How would they feel about what is happening or what is going on the outside? How would they feel if they lose a family member? And when I say lose a family member, I don't mean by dying, but what if they lose a family member mentally because of all of the stressors that are happening within the home? We have a lot of homes like that. We're just not, because it's not, you know, big in the media and we're not hearing about it.
Oh,
But based on where we sit, then we know of them.
I tell you, I will coming up with some other questions, but listen to that, Dale Thompson. What is a broken? I guess what is a broken home? I never liked that term since I know kids who are worse than kids coming in from so-called broken homes.
All right. We have a lot of students or children. Keep saying students. Sorry, I'm a guidance counselor. We have a lot of children who, yes, they rise from the ashes, and that's commendable. Those students would have had, or those children would have had someone who believed in them, who motivated them, who held their hand, brought them through, they would have been, intrinsically motivated. And so they believe that it doesn't really matter what is happening around me. I'm going to step forward, I'm going to push through, and I'm going to achieve. We have a lot of persons like that. We have persons who would say that, boy, me saw my mother go through, I did my mother alone, or me saw my father go through, and my father alone, or my granny alone. And so me have to just do what me have to do to get
And
where
go through.
get to where I want to be.
True.
Right? So I do agree broken homes do bring forth fruits, but we have other persons who it's just a cycle.
And
Nobody chooses to step out.
if I may add, because yes, I do understand that many persons who have, you know, survived the whole issues, survived the contents of broken home. But people, what I have noticed that many of us never realized that there were some assistance given to us during that time. So many persons who suffered through broken homes at some point, but because especially coming from the primary school level, you probably would have been too young to realize that you got that help or support during that period of time. So it's important. The support is very, very important to get someone out of that situation. All right, Gregory Messam, Jaja, salute Sir Sadi, ladies and plenty men. Gregory Spy Messam. Yes, so Joe Jane is also saying broken homes are homes in which there is a lack of love and care regardless the structure. So true. So true. I can tell you, don't think about the physical because the emotional aspect of what is needed. Very, very important.
So
G Prento, don't you need to evaluate the student without the parent at some point? I believe a student would be reluctant to open up with the parent or parents present.
right. So the initial stage would just be students, just the counselor and the student. And can I tell you that sometimes when you do ask your students if you can now get the parents involved because of whatever the situation or the challenges may be, at first they will say no based from fear.
Truth.
But then when they remember what is happening and realizing that we're really going to need my parents to be a part of this if my life is going to be any better. I had a boy told me once, Miss, even if daddy go kill me, still talk to him because he needs to know that what he's doing is hurting me, hurting my brother, and hurting my mother. He needs to know. They went through the process of they went through court. They went through the court system. The
Yes.
mother realized that, this is tearing my family apart. And so, you know, she threw out the case. But then the abuse continued. And now the children are being involved. So it was just the father abusing the mother. No, the father is in turn abusing the children. And so what the child was saying is that even if Imago kill me with lick, he needs to know that
No.
something is wrong. I am hurting, my brother is hurting, my mother is hurting. Somebody has to stop him.
Oh boy, I tell you. You see, one other thing is just to get as G Prento asks about, dealing with the students first. Some of these cases, in my own experience, it's very difficult, very, very difficult to get the truth out of of the students. The point, and I made this point because it's because of how comfortable or uncomfortable they are, depending on the case, with whoever is asking these questions. Because a child may find it, find myself then or find the principal much more comfortable speaking to than even the guidance counselors or
Mm-hmm.
even the classroom teachers. So it depending on the case. And when you realize that you're trying to make that move and not getting anywhere, then there comes a time you have to get the parent in.
Right.
So, it's important that we take these things into consideration. And maybe you, if you look at screen, I guess this comment is more so for you or the little one Zane. All right. So wow, I tell you, McDermotts are out.
Out and stunting, man.
Hey, students or children no are not mentally able to deal with certain issues because of the trauma they have gone through. Great discussion, an important topic. Thank you very much, McDermott. Thank you, Shaween. But you see, madam, what one of the things that I struggled to understand, we talk about mental issues or mental health, we talk about depression, but the truth is they're right there staring at us in our faces, especially in the schools at all levels, as I mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
But what are some of the agencies that are presently in Jamaica to deal with these issues? And how can an individual, parents, or guardian reach out to them outside of the school situation?
Outside. All right. All right. So we have, as I mentioned before, the Child Protection and Family Services Agency. That's the, I would say that's the hub
Yes.
for, for children. They were once just the protectors of children, but now they have included the entire family. So that's one. We have the court system. So you have the children's court, and through the children's court, the entire family will be involved. You have mediation that comes through court as well. We have parenting commission. They give support to parents, and
Okay.
when you're giving support to the parent, it in turn gives support to the entire family. They are We have one moment,
No
please.
problem. Yes, people, thank you again for joining. And if you're there, if you have not participated, if I have not acknowledged you, you need to say something. You need to give something in the chat. And people, as you are here, please just hit the like button. Thumbs up. Yes, give the show a like if you do so. And for those of you who are in the chat and not able to participate, if you're online, I guess you have not yet subscribed. Let me thank you for those of you who have subscribed tonight, and also continue to thank those who have subscribed already and those who continue to follow the Saudichress show. So as we continue, we are back and that we hear more from Miss Saskea McDermott.
All right. So, as I was mentioning, the agencies that give support to us, we have the police, right? I know a lot of us don't like to go to the police, but we have the JCF, and at times we ourselves, well, as a guidance counselor, at times going into the communities, doing a home visit, or whether or not we have to call on them. We have to solicit their services, right? We have to partner with them for various interventions, whether it is for them to come into the school, give talks to our boys or even to our girls at times. We have them, just being there for safety reasons whenever we go into communities.
Other than safety, though, are there any members of the police force? I figure yes, there are members of the police force, but as it relates to different stations, police stations, and so, are there any member of the police stations who have that level of skill to deal with this sort of thing away from that safety reasons? Because these are some of the same reasons why some residents in the community who are afraid to
of
approach the
going to them,
police.
right? Um, as we know now, a lot of persons are wising up, and taking they're taking their educational journey very important, and as such they are going ahead, they're doing short courses, they're completing their bachelor's degrees, some persons are moving on to their masters, and they're doing various courses that will educate them more about dealing with people,
Yes.
different societal class. They are they are warming up a bit. I know that persons normally, the police is the last resort. They prefer to take matters into their own hands, but persons are, I find that they're more quicker now to
Mhm.
make a call to the police, to make a report, than probably a couple of years ago. I know that some persons still, they're of the notion that, boy, police and badman are friend, or if they go and report it, probably they might go spin it and say, what am
Right,
I
active, right?
doing? Right? But I mean, persons are wising up now, and I mean, they're here to help, they're here to serve and protect. So use them up, utilize them. You can't say you did not report.
Okay.
Right. We have Sisoko. So Sisoko deals with sexual offenses, and as I said before, we have a duty to report. So if we realize that a child, or one of our students, they have been raped, or someone, some form of molestation, some form of sexual grooming, then that matter will be reported, and an investigation will be launched from the desk of Sisoko.
Okay. No, we, or should I say not we, but you had distinguished the whole issue of mental health as opposed to what we, or some of us would have been, seen as quote unquote madness. And we will move away from the term, of course. But let's look at a case in a school. There's a particular female student who once, I don't know how she reached there, but she climbed on top of a roof at the school.
Hmm.
How would you describe that student as it relates to mental health?
Um, I just think that student had reached her breaking point. It's either she had reached her breaking point, and or she had been vocalizing what has been happening, and her voice wasn't being heard, and so for her to be seen and for her to be heard, then she
Right.
has to go to the extreme. Now, if if that student wanted to jump,
She would have jumped.
she would have jumped. She was there for an extended period of time before help got there. She would have jumped.
So
Right.
that you would say that that's a situation of seeking some level of attraction.
Some level of attraction for help, because we don't want to say some level of attraction, because some persons are gonna carry. carry it away and say, oh, just attention she wants.
No, and that's why I use the attraction and not the attention.
Right. Because, I mean, you know how we Jamaicans stay.
Yes, that's true.
We don't really take nothing serious. And some persons will say, then jump, all him have to do a jump, and you will have some persons in the audience saying, jump, jump. I mean, what is it? What is it that we're doing to help those persons who who is asking us to be a little kinder, who is asking us to hear me, who is asking us to see me? What are we doing? Are we on the side of saying, I can't bother, I have my own issues? Or are we on the side that is saying, even though I have my own issues, I'm all ears?
So there's no level. You wouldn't link that action to mental issues.
I would not. I would have to get to know the situation more. I would have to know what is it that caused her to go up there. I heard persons saying bullying, but I mean, we have not heard from her. So I don't want to say, I don't want to comment because I don't know what the
Okay.
situation was that led to her going up on the roof.
All right. Let me put it this way now to you. What would be your first step? What would be your first step? And after that, you could name probably a few more steps you would take to dealing with that child. So this child has now, they have retrieved her from the roof and she's at your office. What would be the first step you take with that child?
Wow, you're putting me on the spot. I've never had a situation like that. And you know that we I can only say no what I would do. But probably if I'm ever in the situation, what I say tonight of what I would do probably is not what I will do or would do. Um she has been on she has been on the roof for, you know, quite a long time. So a bottle of water would be nice.
Okay.
Um, saying to her that I am here, I am here to listen, I am here to talk. Take all the time you need. Whenever you're ready to talk, I am here. Probably, play some classical music in the background. Um, you know, put her in front of a mirror to sit down so that she can actually see herself, look at herself, speak words of wisdom, speak words of, positivity to her until she's ready to talk. Sometimes when we go through traumatic situations, it takes us days and weeks, months, even years to even talk about it. But
True.
for her, probably she just needed somebody to see her and just to realize that I am ready to talk, but nobody wants to listen. So I am there for her. So I'm just patiently waiting for her to open up. So meanwhile I am waiting, I am empowering her.
It's a simple step. Hold your thoughts. This was long. Freelance coming up. What are the red flags that could indicate that a child could have mental health challenges in the future?
Genetics could be one.
Oh,
The traits, right? Um, right. Based on how the child reacts at school, and we get a evaluation done, get an assessment done, then we could say, okay, this person is suffering from a mental illness, and as such we we have to partner with family now to say, all right, this is how we're going to work with that child or student. Um, Another way, I'm just thinking about the genetic part to it, because we can't really say whether or not the child has a mental health challenge without the child being diagnosed. But we can work with the child if we realize that something might be wrong. But until that child is really diagnosed, then what we have to do is just try our best to do our counseling sessions or therapy sessions or group sessions or guidance sessions. So we separate and apart from, you know, the counseling that the guidance counselor would offer, we also offer support in terms of guidance sessions within the classroom. So the guidance counselor would go into the classroom and we speak about different challenges that are affecting that class or challenges that are affecting society at large.
You know, I heard you a few times and you made mention of the aspect of diagnosing and evaluation. But my experience here in Jamaica right now, the number of years that it takes to get a child diagnosed,
It's getting better.
isn't
It's
that a
get,
big factor in
it
assisting that
it
child?
is because sometimes based on the level of performance, based on the level of, acting out, it's a situation where we need to know what exactly to do. And I remember I took in some microcare assessment forms not too long ago, probably last month, and I asked the young lady, how long will the parents take to get a call? How long will it take?
Mhm.
And she told me 6 to 8 weeks.
Just to get a call, just for a
Just
response.
just to get a call, right? And when they're coming in, they have to ensure that they have, all the required documents and all of that. Um, it takes a while, but it's for me, I think it's getting better.
All right, we're looking forward. And so, leading to that, G Printer, somehow I think that we are able to spot mental health cases versus just behavioral abnormalities stemming from personal experience. Is that so?
Let me think about that one some more.
And while you're thinking, let me ask G Printer, are you saying to us that you have those, the personal experience you're talking about is a matter of behavioral abnormalities? Or you had some mental health issues? Just asking for clarity. All right. So while Miss getting to her thought, I'm just gonna just take just a little minute break, just for advertisement to make the business run. So Miss, just a little while, and you'll get a chance to get, to Zane and people. Stay tuned, and let's see what we have here. So, Toti.
This is the Caesar, actress and comedian in Jamaica. I tell you this. Recently, I was in St. Petersburg, and I was like, wonder if I can find anywhere that can make me feel like I'm in Jamaica. And to my surprise, just like I'm in my kitchen with my mangoes and my banana and my breadfruit. Look here. You can get these kind of breadfruit. See here? My sweet potato and my yam and all that sort of thing. You can get them same place in St. Petersburg. And you can get everything under one roof. Where can you go? Taste of the Islands. Taste of the Islands supermarket and restaurant. And you see like how gas price it a go up and a go up and a go up and a plan to come back down for you. Try do everything under one roof. You can send your JN money transfer there. Yes, man. And top up your family overseas with them flow and them digital credit. What you saying? You never know. Taste of the Island 727321415 exciting thing that you can eat same place. So let's say you go there and you feel a little peckish. Them cook up nice scrumptious meals, and you can get all your nice cut off meats: your chicken, your goat, your oxtail, your pork, everything. You know, hear me say everything under one dege roof. Then you don't know. If you're sending barrel, they do barrels too. Yes, they do shipping to the Caribbean. Call them, man, or visit their website to look at all their services. www.toti.com. Toti.com. Yes, man. Taste of the Islands. You get it? Yes. Call them at 727-873-7559. Tell them they'll see to send you. Let's go again. 727-873-7559. Toti. Taste of the Islands.
That's Del Cita there. So, Toti, Taste of the Island restaurant, coming from St. Petersburg. And I just want to say to you that Toti is our main sponsor for tonight's show. And Taste of the Island restaurant is managed by Leo Packer Anderson. And I must also say that is a part of the PIBA organization that you see. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are joining for the first time, we have a number of sponsors for this Saudichress show in general. But tonight is sponsored by Toti. So thank you again for joining. And please remember to hit the like button. And for those of you who are there, remember to subscribe. And also share the Saudichress show. Now, yes, we have been speaking with Saskea McDermott, and she'll be back very shortly. So she's on a break, as you know, and we would like to say, so far, she has been giving us useful information that, I mean, sometimes we believe that we know these things, but when you hear it from the professionals, I put it this way, from the persons who deal with it, you know, we have to take a few steps backward. And as it said, people, mental health, our mental challenge, our mental issues in our schools today, there are some issues there. But as what Miss McDermott is saying to us, let's not jump the gun so quick. Let's just hold back. Because for us to diagnose, or for us to detect, or for us to pronounce mental issues, we need to diagnose. We need to evaluate the children. But you know, students are not just the only persons in schools. We have the different staffs, the principal, the classroom teachers, the librarian, work experience teachers, the nurses, yes, the janitors, the cooks, the chefs, the groundsmen, the bursars. All of these persons are involved in schools. So my take on this, mental health in schools is much more broader than the students. So when Miss McDermott comes back, we'll just want to look at how much we believe that other members of the school community are affected by mental health. So we have looked at the students. And so I strongly believe, too, that many of us, can I say this? Many of us today in our schools, administrators, teachers, and all other members of staff, we suffer some issues, some mental challenges. It may not be great. And some of us too, which I believe the adults are the ones who tend to hide away, who don't accept that there are issues. Miss McDermott, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Now, we have looked at students, and we want to look now at other members of the school community. And let me start with the teachers. As a guidance counselor, you're not guidance counselor at all for just students.
No,
You're a
I'm
guidance
not.
counselor for every single person in that school community.
Right.
Have you ever had an experience with teachers as a counselor in the schools that you work, or maybe outside of those schools that you work, having mental issues while they're on the job?
Boy, fitness stress, teacher stress, everybody stress. Um, I've had situations where teachers and other members of staff have walked into the office asking for help, asking for my advice. Um, and it ranges from, the sanitation staff telling me how, you know, the payment each weekly, it's just not adding up. They can't, it's just not working. They need more. What should they do? Should they look elsewhere for a job? I have to be tapping into, different resources, pulling on their strengths to find out, if you leave this job, what else do you have? What strengths do you have? What skills do you have? What is it that you have that you can tap into so that you can, get more for what you are, what you have. So I've had that. I've had teachers who are being abused at home by their spouse coming into the office saying that they're tired, they don't know what to do. They're staying because they have the children or they have a child, and when they come in, it's like they're just floating. They're floating all over. They can't function, they can't focus. The least little thing that happens within the classroom, because they're so frustrated of what is happening at home, they take it out on our children. And as we said, teacher stress, fitness stress. So it's going to be a ripple effect. So the teacher is stressed and she's taking out her stress on the students. The students are going to take out feeling stress on the teacher too. And so you're going to realize that there's a feud within the classroom because the big man I go say, I say big man, but it's a child. I go say, boy, Miss not like me no, and because Miss not like me not like her either.
So hold on a minute. Let me break your thoughts. I want to understand this clearly. The question I ask, and I know you heard, you are responding, but you use the term stress or the word stress. Is it that we want to zoom into stress instead of mental health, or is it that stress is the number one symptom
Of
of
mental
mental
health,
health?
right? The stressors of mental health,
Okay, that's what I want. So you can continue.
right?
Just want to be clear on that.
Right. So, I mean, based on all of the contributing factors that are happening within or around, um, students, teachers, it causes a bit of mental health issues. The stress causes a bit of mental health issues. Teachers are faced teachers are faced with them loving the students more than how parents love the students. So the teachers are going above and beyond the call of duty to ensure that when this child comes to school, this child is going home with something in the book. But the parents are not partnering with teachers to ensure that when the child come at school, work
Yes.
have to come home in a book or else, right? They are not, they are not, parents are not being responsible. And so the weight of everything is left to the teacher, right? The traumatic experiences that the teachers have to undergo on a daily basis of having students. I can vividly remember a teacher saying to me, Miss, me just a borrow your office space for a little while if you cry. She was teaching a topic about family. And when she drew on the board, the typical mother,
Yeah.
father, siblings, the little boy shouted out and said, and me alone and mommy know because daddy kick you out the other night in the cold. And we have to walk from upper wherever to wherever to go away auntie house. And this is a child that we were having a lot of challenges with. And when we looked into the situation, we realized
What was happening?
we linked everything. And when I realized how stressed, how it affected the teacher mentally, she could not have class for the rest of the day. She sat in my office and she cried. And I said to her, I will make some calls to the parent, right? I'm going to have this child for counseling. And this child would not talk. He just said that, and that was it. He would not talk. And so, what I had to do was just give him a piece of paper. I just tell him to draw. Draw what you're feeling. Express all you're feeling by drawing. And he did just that. And then we started talking. Now, teachers don't only teach, teachers are mothers, teachers are nurses, teachers become dressmaker. I mean, teachers are just everything while they are at school.
Miss, can you repeat that?
Louder. You want me to
Yes.
repeat it louder for you?
Loud.
I
Loud.
said, teachers are not just teachers when they go to school. They're nurses, they're doctors, they're dressmakers, they are everything. They become mothers, auntie, uncle, father, everything while they are at school.
People, you can imagine that. This is what many of us engage in on a daily basis. We have made ourselves magicians.
Mm-hmm.
But in that lightness, regardless of what is happening to our teachers, whatever we faced, we continue to make good of what we have. We continue to care for the children. And I've heard teachers, based on their involvement with students who need help, they tend to even forget their own children.
Yes, they do. They absolutely do. We have when we had grade six pep. It seems as though I have a story for everything, but when we had grade six pep, we have I had two grade six teachers at the school that I worked at previously, and one stayed at school until it was after 5, and then she said, counselor, you can go pick up my daughter for me. She must be out of the square. Wait, how long? And I said to her, what do you mean? Her daughter gets to the town center by 3:30 every afternoon. And she was at school until after 5,
My God.
teaching other children, while hers was left stranded on the road
On the
because
road.
this child doesn't have a phone. So you can just imagine. That is exactly what you said. They take care of other person's children, but theirs left behind.
How our teachers responded? What are the response like when you try to counsel a teacher?
Um, the
Or try to
general, the general is normally they have to go through so much. They have to go through so much, and they are not valued. And when they mean they're not valued, sometimes they don't necessarily mean that they're not Then a bit, when you go to certain places and you would see employee of the month and all of those things. I don't think my teachers mean that. They mean that they're not being paid as they should. So that is another
That's another
thing
story.
that
And in,
contributes to the mental wellness of our teachers, right? When you look into your account each month, and the money just not mats at all, nah mats up, it nah, the money just not money any at all. The bills far outweighs what you're getting as your salary, right? And you have to go through so much. Sometimes school begins at 8 and you have to be there long before that, just to ensure that this set of students or this child grasp the concept of what I will be teaching or what I have taught.
so, Miss, you make mention of certain things that contribute to teachers' stress or mental issues, if I may say.
Right.
And the latter one you spoke about is the salaries not being paid. In this climate in Jamaica, what we have seen over the past 3 months, a lot of teachers are crying out. Would you say there's an increase in stress as it relates to the compensation review?
But
In
of
your view,
course, I won't even
because
let you finish. But of course, we ought to be paid.
I don't want to draw you into this one, because you're not here for that. But one of the things that we must understand, and I will use this medium to say, ladies and gentlemen, viewers, there's a lot of discussion surrounding the salaries of public sector workers. And I'm going to zoom in just as teachers, because one of these days I'm going to get it on my show where I just looked at that. But right now I'm trying to ascertain all the necessary information, the data, so I can speak loudly and clearly. Now, I've listened to teachers, I've listened to the JTA, I've listened to the JTA president, I've listened to the Minister of Education just yesterday, and I've listened to the Ministry of Finance. We have conflicting stories. But no, based on these stories, I believe the stress level will also increase, because some person's situation will not be dealt with because of reasons that I don't want to share just now, because I will be dealing with that. But because other things that influence their situation is totally different from the others. So you're saying to us that teachers are more stressed now.
More than ever. They don't feel as though they are valued. They really don't. And it is so sad though that without teachers, really, there'd been really no other professions. Um, if we don't have teachers in the classroom, then how are children going to learn? Because if you put a child in front of the screen, it's like a blank slate to them. Some persons, I must say that yes, they'll listen, they'll understand, and they'll grasp the concept. But we need teachers, and if the teachers don't feel as if they're valued, if the teachers don't, feel as though they're being paid for what they have to go through while they are at work, right? I mean, we're going to see a brain drain again,
Miss McDermott, we have to now look at the future.
right?
And Let me just be a little controversial here as it relates to that. If we look at the digital world and where technology is going, in short order, we might don't need as many teachers as what we need now. With the
Right,
invent of AI, artificial intelligence.
right. And I can safely say that, the teachers are realizing that. And so a lot of teachers, you'll find them whilst doing, continuing their education, they are not doing anything as it relates to education. They're
Okay.
branching out, they're stepping out, they're, going out on a limb to greener pastures. They are pushing themselves into challenging themselves into different path.
Different path. And that is very good. I don't want to keep you much longer, but we are getting to the end and we need to look at self care.
Wonderful. This is important. And for some persons, it doesn't really matter how small it is, but you deserve self care. So you might, when you hear the word self care, you might feel that, okay, self care will be, doing my hair, getting my nails done, going out, enjoying myself. Self care doesn't have to mean that. Self care can be as small as closing your door, going into the staff room, closing your office door, having lunch. Teachers, I will repeat,
Please
self
do.
care can also mean closing your door, going into the classroom, having lunch. A lot of us sometimes we take the lunch to work and it goes back home with us. Now we cannot pour from an empty cup. And so if we are at work and we are running on empty, if we're running on E, we are going to shut down. So please, with due diligence, please put self care into your timetable each day and have lunch. Close the door and reflect, right? It is important. We're not robots, right? It is very important to tap into self. It is very important to pour into self. And I know for some persons, it doesn't matter how small the pay might be. No loan never get them to not do something to lift their spirit, or for want of a better word, to have their self-care, you know, placed into their budget. Because it is important. For me, self-care is sitting, browsing the internet, or playing with my son, going to the nail tech. I love going to the nail tech, because I like to feel cute. So I might not go to the hairdresser,
But we
but
want to go to the nail tech.
I am going to go to the nail tech, right? So it don't really matter. Miss McDermott here will always be in one, but her nails will always be on fleek. That is my self care, and I am sticking to it. No, we have to find, as I normally say, we have to find our why. So find what is it that you're going to do for your self care for each month, because it is very important. As I said before, you cannot pour from an empty cup, and as such, you have to refuel. So you have gone through a rough day, you have gone through a rough week. Give yourself grace. Find some time to tap in, to rejuvenate, and to refuel.
You know, the truth is, now I understand. And many of us, including myself, we always look at self care as in, do little things for yourself. But that simple example that is given. The issue with that, though, how many of our teachers get that real opportunity to go to their office or in the class staff room and shut the door?
Well, put the students on timeout. They're going to have their lunch, and when lunchtime comes, if the bell doesn't ring, they are going to tell you that it is lunchtime. That is self-care time for them. That is feeding their bodies. So
So the
why can't you
system,
tell them, give me 5 minutes, give me 10 minutes to refuel?
and I'm saying, if based on how the system operates, the timetable, so during lunch, during break, the students are expected to be supervised. Who supervises students? So it's just a little matter of, in and out situation. And I'm saying
Right.
this to people who doesn't teach. And many of us, all of us were students. And when we were going to school, we realized that the teachers never had time for themselves. These are some
What
of the issues
I
we are faced with.
what I normally do for when I have guidance sessions, I would tell the teachers, this half an hour is your time. Do whatever you want to do with it. Couple months ago, a teacher said to me, Miss, you don't know whether half an hour they do for me a while ago. I get a good piece of sleep, you see. And I'm like, this is what we need. We need our voices to be heard. We need persons to know that the classroom is like somewhat like a battlefield.
Yes.
And we go on empty a lot of times. But just that half an hour that teacher got the day.
Just a minute. Just continue, miss. I'm just gonna plug my computer and continue.
Sure.
Battery. Yes. So
That half an hour that teacher got that day, it made a world of difference for her. And so whenever I go to my guidance classes, I normally tell my teachers, this half an hour is yours. Do whatever you want to do with it. So I would normally encourage them to, sit, get a breather. I know the workload is very high. And so some teachers would use that time to, mark papers, do their logs. And some teachers, they're not only teachers, but they have other responsibilities within the institution. And so this is the only time they would really get to cover those tasks. So if they can throw in a 5 minutes or 10 minutes of self-care, kudos to them. But it's important, and we have to try our best to see how we can integrate self-care into our schools more. Um, what what the guidance unit normally does is have rap sessions with teachers so they can let down their hair. They can not feel as though they are teachers, but they are somebody other than a teacher, so that they can understand the importance of self-care, self-love, self-worth, right? So the guide within the guidance unit, we have programs, and the programs does not only um, the program is not only there for the students but for the teachers as well. So we'll have different activities for teachers.
very interesting. I heard about the teachers. Miss McDermott, who offer you self-care?
Aha.
You counsel the teachers, you counsel students. Where did you get your drive from? Where did you get your motivation? Who motivates you at school or at work? Because you have to counsel everybody. Who counsel you?
Who comes to me? I I I get my motivation from a very strong individual. I won't name her tonight, but she's on the platform. I get my motivation and my inspiration from her. And what will always resonate with me is that I should always see the glass half full instead of half empty.
Okay.
So, positive thinking. So, it doesn't really matter how stressful the day is going and how stressful the the day can get, because I'll go to work, and I have a checklist, I have a to-do list, and based on the happenings, nothing is done, right? I i pour into self, motivate self. And when you see me driving and my windows are up or they are down and I'm playing my music, that is my self-care. That is me not taking home anything that happened at work to my yard.
Okay.
Right.
Interesting.
So I enter my car, Saskea, and when I step out in the mornings at work, I'm Miss McDermott.
Very good. Miss McDermott, what can you, outside of the classroom, because we have dealt in, and I'm sure we on the platform, we have
Hmm.
a lot of persons who don't work in the classroom. They are not teachers. They are
Right.
no longer students. Help them to understand the importance of self-care outside of the classroom.
All right. So it's basically the same thing, as what I've said before. It's finding time. Doesn't matter how tight your schedule is. It's finding time for yourself. We will find time for everybody else and everything else in the world, but we often leave ourselves behind. But it is now time for us to realize that selfie is important. So you will see girls on the road. They're coming home from school and they have their phone and they're basking in the moments and they're taking pictures, right? And
Yeah.
those moments, they have those moments to cherish. Now, if you are basking in everybody else's glory, who bask in yours?
You're right.
So we have to ensure that we take care of selves so that we will have memories to share. We will have moments to look back and smile at. And as I said, it doesn't have to be anything large. It doesn't have to be anything that is going to take up a bulk of our money. It can also simply taking a drive or a walk, taking a taxi, and you go down to the beach. A lot of persons normally ask me, you don't swim, you don't like the salt water, you don't like the beach, but why do you go? That's a part of my self care. I go to watch other people enjoying themselves. When I see people happy, I am happy.
So you go to the beach and watch people swim,
Yeah, man. And
but you
watch
don't
them
swim.
having fun with their friends or families. Hmm.
And that's self-care for you.
And that is self care for me. Enjoying nature, seeing other persons happy. That is self care for me. Because seeing someone happy, you are automatically, you're forced to be happy, because when you see them smiling, you are going to smile. If you're not sure it ear to ear, but you're going to smile, even if it's in your heart. And trust me, when the day is finished and I'm home, I'm a brand new person.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this show. But this is just part one of two. And I promise you, you don't want to miss part
Part
two.
two.
Maybe we might have to go to part three, but just keep it there. But before I end the show, let me just acknowledge the persons who came in late. We have some late comers, you know. So RR is our late comer, and he's always early. He was the class monitor for this class, but somehow, because of his late attendance,
We'll
you
have
know.
to reassign Chevian.
Okay, Chevian, I am that is said. So I want to see Chevian on this show this Friday night. Even though we're not having Miss McDermott as our guest, but please continue to support us, and I'm happy for the support that you gave us. So RR, respect man, thanks for coming in. All right, RR says self-care boss up. He's saying that in late for self-care class. You understand? I know, boss, but I know that something had have to keep you away from being early in class. Um, just put this one up on the stream because guess what? It's a topic that is hot on the heels of all Jamaican right now. And the Saudichress show in good time will zoom in. Roots Roy, Roots first. Big up Saudi and the crew. Tune in from England. So we have people watching from all over. Again, we want to say thanks. But before you go, I want to say thank you, Miss McDermott. And the people, what a powerful lady we have. Informative, motivating. And so, as we mentioned, part one of two, I promise you that in part two, you'll be more than informed. You will be graced with such information. We will still talk in mental health, people. And with that in mind, I want you to help me to thank Miss McDermott. Miss McDermott, thank
Thank you
you for
so
coming on
much
the
for having
Saudichress show.
Zane and I on the show tonight.
And thank you. And make sure that Zane get all that he deserves for the rest of the night.
He sure will. Thank you so
Ladies and
much.
gentlemen, thank you again. And I want to say, I want to close out with this advertisement again from Toti, the magic woman. Talk about Toti in St. Petersburg. This is where we leave you and we'll close with our advertisement. Thank you.
Hey, St. Petersburg, how wanna do? This is Delcita, actress and comedian in Jamaica. You know, I tell you this. Recently, I was in St. Petersburg, and I was like, wonder if I can find anywhere that can make me feel like I'm in Jamaica. And to my surprise, just like I'm in my kitchen with my mangoes and my banana and my breadfruit. Look here. You can get these kind of breadfruit, see here? My sweet potato and my yam and all that sort of thing. You can get them same place in St. Petersburg. And you can get everything under one roof. Where can you go? Taste of the Islands. Taste of the Islands supermarket and restaurant. And you see like how gas price it a go up and a go up and a go up and a plan to come back down for now. Try do everything under one roof. You can send your JN money transfer there. Yes, man. And top up your family overseas with them flow and them digital credit. What you saying? You never know. Taste of the Island 72732141557. Exciting thing that you can eat same place. So let's say you go there and you feel a little peckish. Them cook up nice scrumptious meals and you can get all your nice cut off meals. Your chicken, your goat, your oxtail, your pork, everything. You know, hear me say everything under one dege roof. Then you don't know. If you're sending barrel, they do barrels too. Yes, they do do shipping to the Caribbean, call them, man, or visit their website to look at all their services. www.toti.com. Toti.com. Yes, man. Taste of the Islands. You get it? Yes. Call them at 727-873-7559. Tell them they'll see it. I said you. Let's go again. 727-873-7559. Toti. Taste of the Islands.
Yes, people. So again, I must say thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for your support tonight. And this is where we leave you. And we say goodbye. Join me this Friday night. We'll be talking sports, more so football. A very, very interesting topic. Just to say though, as it relates to our young footballers, there are a number of footballers, young footballers leaving high schools. They go overseas on scholarship or even contract. But just after 2 or 3 years, they return to Jamaica, playing in our JPL. Is this a positive thing? Or is it a situation that they could not make the mark? This is where we take you. This is what we'll be discussing Friday night. Don't miss it. And I ask you to join us. Thank you very much and goodbye.